Hey y'all, today I'm going to be making our original crock pot cinnamon roll casserole, all while having a whole lot of fun. Watch that wonderful stuff go all over your cinnamon roll casserole. Hi, welcome back to another edition of Cooking Chris's Dishes with the Good Old Boy, where we're cooking up dishes straight from recipes.crock.com, my beautiful wife's cooking blog. And today, we're going to go back and do an OG recipe. We're going to be doing some recipes like this in the future, where you might have seen them before or seen a very similar variation or a variation of the original recipe that we've done. But we were talking about it the other day, and one that we've not done a video for has a really cool story behind it. And back in 2014, I was working on the railroad and working some really odd and strange hours a lot of times. And that's when Cris was really starting Recipes the Crock and really, getting some momentum with it. And then she calls me around, I think it was around the end of October of that year. And she says, Mike, I don't know what's going on, but I've got this recipe that's gone viral. And I'm like, well, what do you mean it's gone viral? And she goes, we're seeing hundreds of thousands of people clicking on this recipe and sharing this recipe, and it had never happened before. She had some great recipes on the site to begin with, of course, but nothing had been that successful until that moment. And this is the recipe that did it all. I know that we've done a French toast casserole, there's a peach cinnamon roll casserole, there's all kinds of different casseroles that stemmed from this original recipe, and I'm going to make it exactly like the original recipe. The only thing that I had to do different was not my fault. And that is, a lot of times what we'll do, instead of going to the grocery store, we'll have like a Walmart delivery. And if they don't have what we request, sometimes they'll just substitute it for something else. And usually what they'll do is they'll substitute up. So instead of calling for 24 ounces, which is two 12-ounce tubes of regular cinnamon rolls, like your Pillsbury cinnamon rolls or whatever you have, they gave us the great big grands ones that are 17 and a half. So what that did is it forced me to do some math, because 17.5 divided by 5 is 3.5, and therefore if you take 17.5 and go 18, 19, 20 and a half, 21, 22, 23 and a half, that makes 24. So long story short, with all the math, I know I sound like Rain Man right there, I had to take one tube of the cinnamon rolls and then two of the rolls out of the other tube to make 24 ounces. I've got 3 rolls left over. I'm going to put them in the oven. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. And I'll have that wrong oven. And I might just have to snack on that while I'm letting this cook. But first, what you want to do is, while I tell you this story, I'm going to put everything together. You've got your rolls. First thing you want to do is quarter those guys up. And these are a little bigger, so I'm actually going to make these in 6 pieces instead of 4, because they're quite larger than the original. But if you get the original 12-ounce can of rolls, you'll have no problem. If you do this, you're going to want to get 2 biscuits out of another can and make it in 6ths. That way they'll turn into bite-sized pieces. But all I'm going to do is quarter, or in this case 6th them up. That's really hard to say, but that's what I'm doing. Just going to cut them up and move them to the side. And I'll tell you about the rest of the ingredients here. You're going to want to have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1/2 cup of heavy cream, 4 eggs, and then also 3 teaspoons of maple syrup. That's the only word that rhymes with purple. But as I cut these up, I want to tell you that y'all, our viewers, our readers on the blog, are the whole reason that we get to do what we do, whether it's travel and give you content there. It's what started me really going into the whole music thing, and it all started with some cinnamon rolls. Now, what I want to do with these cinnamon rolls is I'm going to go to my slow cooker, and we're using our Ninja slow cooker. This is the old Ninja. This is, I think, our 2nd Ninja we ever had, and it's been such a trusty one. We kept it around. She's been beat up. She's traveled the world. But I'm going to take and coat the sides of that And I know you're saying, Mikey, that's non-stick, and it is, but at the same time, this has been used quite a bit. It's scratched up on the inside, and I just don't want anything to stick. So I'm gonna, after I sprayed that down, I'm gonna take half of these, I hope it'll be about half of these guys, and go in the bottom of my pan. Separate them out real good here. And you gotta make sure that this covers the bottom of your pan. So it might be a little over half that you put in there. But the reason that you want this to cover the bottom of your pan is when you make the mixture, you want it to go and soak in through your biscuits and not go around your biscuits. It's okay if a little gets down there because it's actually going to soak all the way through anyway. But what you're trying to do is, as these bake up, it soaks down into it and it incorporates itself into your biscuits altogether, or into your cinnamon rolls rather. Actually, that's going to take all of them, which is completely fine, because the cool thing about this is these cinnamon rolls, you see them when they're in an oven, what do? They puff up, right? They grow taller. And the problem in, like, for say, a casserole crock, it's the same thing with cakes or anything like that. You would think you could make a really good cake in a casserole crock, and you can. But the problem is, whatever you're putting in there does not have room to really grow up, and it doesn't really get a chance to grab on the sides of your casserole crock in order to grow like you would want. Where in here, it's a deep vessel, and these are actually a lot better for baking versus if you were to do it in a shallow casserole crock. So you totally can. If that's what you got, you can do it. It's just going to be a little different. It's going to be a little flatter. Where this recipe is going to make it thick, almost really like a cake. And with that mixture that I'm getting ready to put together, the next part of that is it's going to make like a really, really good creamy custard at the bottom, all the stuff that soaks through. So that stuff is going to cook down through there. It's going to start pulling all the cinnamon from your rolls and everything, and pull it down into the bottom, and make this really, really creamy custard. I think the way that Cris and I talked about it when she made it is it kind of tasted like a flan. If y'all know what flan is, it's really, really good. And it's just it's simple milk, sugar, and eggs. So that's about. I'm going to spread these out just a little bit. But my main goal here is to make sure that I don't see much of the bottom of that slow cooker. Like I said, if you see a little bit of it, you'll be okay. But you don't want that stuff to pool up on one side. Okay, so I've got my cinnamon rolls all spread out down in there. There's a little bit of spots in there where you can see the bottom of the slow cooker. Again, I'm not worried because they're going to puff up, and it's really not going to pool up much in the bottom. It's mostly going to go through those cinnamon rolls. So I'm going to wipe my hands off here real quick and go on to the next step, and that is to mix the rest of our ingredients together. And get this out of the way. And we'll take our 4 eggs. See how good I can do this and not get shells. I'm not really good at egg cracking. I just never have been. I'm getting better though. So far I'm 2 for 2. We're good. Oh yeah, by the way, as I'm cracking these eggs, when you get your cinnamon rolls, these babies come with it, okay? Save those. You do not want to get rid of those. You want to leave them sitting out because you're going to use them in this recipe. I mean, you don't throw away the icing, the cream cheese icing that comes with those. That's like getting rid of Christmas. You just don't do that. But I'm going to take my teaspoon of cinnamon, my 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, my 2 teaspoons of vanilla or vanilla extract, whatever you got's fine. Hang on to my spoon here, I'll use it in a minute. My 1/2 cup of whipping cream, heavy cream. And then I'm going to take my maple syrup, rhymes with purple, and I want 3 tablespoons. I got the wrong spoon. Let me see what I got here. Tablespoons. Grabbed the wrong spoon a while ago. Alright, good. That came off clean. Good. So, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And I like my pours heavy. That's okay. So we'll get rid of that. Clean my hands off one more time, get the syrup off of them. And now all you want to do is stir up this mix. You want to beat it up real good. Beat them eggs up. And then mix this together. You could use a mixer if you want to. Make sure your little hard work don't hurt nobody. And you're going to come up with kind of a custard mix here. Oh wow, that smells amazing. That nutmeg is very, very, very pungent. I don't know if pungent's the right word. There's a lot of good smell comes out of nutmeg. Is that better? And of course you mix that with your cinnamon. It smells like you're getting ready to bake up something good, like you're going to bake up almost like a pumpkin pie. Only there's no pumpkin in this one. This is straight up the OG original recipe. I was messing with Cris. She goes, whatever you do, don't alter this recipe. I'm like, what if I want to put some bacon in it? Because you totally could. No. What if I want to put some chocolate chips in it? Because you totally could. She said no. Show them the bare bones original recipe, and since she's my boss, that's what I'm doing. But you got that all stirred up. I'm going to go right over the top of my cinnamon rolls. Get on them cracks, just like that. I really, really wish you could smell this because it smells amazing. And now what I want to do is I'm going to take one of my 2 containers of icing and I'm going to throw it in the microwave for about 8 seconds. Kind of like you would a muffin, you know. 8, start. And all that's going to do is soften that up because I pulled those straight out of the fridge. I probably should have let them sit there a little bit longer. But your other one, just reserve it. Set it to the side so the kids can't get to it. Or me. And that softened it up just a little bit, which is fine. And I'll grab my spoon. And I'm going to take that, give it a little stir. And I'm just going to pour this over the top of my biscuits and my egg mixture. I could do all kinds of artistic designs. It really doesn't matter because it's all going to melt down in. But this is just going to make that a whole bunch sweeter. Just like that. I know I look like one of them fancy gourmet chefs doing this. So when you get done, this is what it's supposed to look like. Ta-da! Just like that. Looks like a mess, but that mess is going to bake down into those cinnamon rolls. It's going to fluff up real good. All that stuff on top is going to end up being on the bottom in this really nice, warm, creamy custard mixture that's going to be underneath those rolls. And we'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute. But for now, I'm going to take and put my lid on it. And we're going to cook this on high for 2.5 to 3 hours. So I'm going to set it for 3 hours. Computer, set an alarm for 2 hours and 30 minutes.
2 hours and 30 minutes, starting now.
And when that timer goes off, we'll check the rolls. And as long as everything is brown and golden on the outside, we're good to go. If not, let it go for about another 15 to 20 minutes. Check it really good at 3 hours. But for you, all you got to do is wait on me to clean this mess up, eat the rolls that I had left over, and for this to cook up. That'll happen in 3, 2, 1. And about 2 hours has gone. This thing cooks a little warmer than most of our slow cookers do. So this again is where you want to make sure and keep an eye on it. And I'll show you why, because you got to check this out. So 2.5 to 3 hours is what the recipe says. This is exactly 2 hours later. And that is done. Now it looks brown on top, but that's mostly the cinnamon. But if I come over here and pull the sides, I don't know if I can really show you this or not. It might be a little difficult. But the sides are starting to brown up right there, and that's what I'm looking for. And to be quite honest, I like my cinnamon rolls a little doughy in the middle, kind of like me. So you remember that icing I told you to save? Well, here it is right here. And now this is the best part. All you do is watch that wonderful stuff go all over your cinnamon roll casserole. So you get a little sweet on the top, a little eggy custard on the bottom, and some doughy cinnamon rolls that are done, but I like mine in the middle with a little bit of chew in them. Don't waste any of that. Make sure you get all that on there. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm not wasting any of it, and I needed my hand back, so I had to put you guys back up there while I finish off the rest of this icing on top. And that's hot, so it'll melt down really good, but I'm going to spread that out just to make sure every bite on top has a good amount of that icing. Oh yeah. Make every bite even. I also want to make sure I shut my slow cooker off. I don't want that to cook anymore because it is done to my liking. If you want it done a little bit more, if you like your biscuits more, your rolls more dry in the middle, that's fine. Let it go a little bit longer. Just make sure you don't burn the sides. When you get done, get yourself a good little portion, and I'm going to go upside down to see what that looks like on the bottom. Yeah. I'll set that like that, and I'll come see you. Scoot my camera back here a little bit. Okay, so you've already seen the tops. You know that there's plenty of that wonderful syrup on top, or that icing on top, but it's on the bottom that I really, really like. And because when that cooks down, it's an egg mixture. Egg is milked together is going to make it more custardy. So you get a little contrast of sweet and eggy all the way through. Y'all, that is perfect. That right there is the reason that recipes at Crock got as big as it did, as fast as it did. It was a wonderful recipe like that. My wife is the one that published this recipe, and it's allowed us to do some amazing things, and I am super, super grateful. Super grateful for her. My mouth is watering so much right now. Because one, it allowed me to quit the railroad and go on this journey with her. And two, I still get to eat awesome recipes like this. And three, I get to be with my best friend. Isn't that cool? Ladies and gentlemen, never underestimate the power of a woman with a crock pot. I know I don't. If y'all like what you're seeing here in these videos, make sure you give us a thumbs up down below. Also, if you have not become a member of the Crock Posse, click the subscribe button down below. That's all you got to do when you're a welcome member of the Crock Posse. Also, if you want to know as soon as we put up a new video, click the bell next to it called the ding-a-ling, and that'll let YouTube know that you want to see a video every time we put one out. But what all y'all need to do for sure is to laugh often, eat good food, and speak life. Bye, y'all. So good. If you want to see the latest, click on the left right here. If you feel like subscribing, click on the right, my dear. And if you think